Welcome to episode number 2 of The Breakdown. And today we're going to be talking about transition from offense to defense. My name is Dave Starman, and I'm thrilled once again to join you. Talk about some of the smaller components of our game that make a big difference. And this one was what I did my USA Hockey Masters thesis on back in 2001. And it's just been a topic. Being a goalie, this was something that I just really understood as I transitioned out better and started to coach, was the concept of defending, of transitioning back to playing defense, of back checking. And I always felt like it was defense first. So this really clicked with me, and it's a topic that, for many, many years, I've been a big advocate of. So we're going to discuss some of the parts of it, and starting with the structure. Different coaches have different ways that they like to back check, and it's evolved over the years with defensemen getting much more involved offensively. Sometimes that D isn't in a defensive mode. They're in more of a back checking mode. We're going to get into hockey by the numbers, which I'm going to explain in a moment. Defining roles and the points of commitment. Now, when I was a younger coach, I used to go to Roger Nielsen's coaching clinic all the time in Windsor, Ontario. And two coaches that really talked about this topic a lot were Tom Watt and Craig Ramsey. And I remember Tom Watt going through a discussion of the red line being the point of commitment for the third player back, whether or not they're going to hound the puck carrier the whole way, or whether they're going to hand the puck carrier off to the defenseman. And he always said, if you are 1 to 2 stick lengths away from the puck carrier as that third player tracking back, and you think you can make contact on the puck carrier by the red line, you do it. But if you can't by the red line, then you hand them over to the defenseman, you turn around, look for trailers, and you follow up. And it's something that I've always believed in. I've talked to other coaches who feel if you're going to go get the puck carrier, take the length of the ice if you want to. It's up to you as the coach to make that decision, but establish a point of commitment so everybody's on the same page. And lastly, we'll get into some practice plans and how you do your sort outs coming back on the back check. There are some simple rules, but I find that they're finite rules. And if you stay by this, it really helps your team back check. And this is the hockey by the numbers component that I just talked about. But the number one rule, you have to back check through the middle. It's got to go through the middle, because going through the middle means you can get to either side quickly and you're not constantly crossing the ice. So come back through the middle as you do your sorting out. The first two players back are going to face the rush. Now, we just talked about it might not be two defensemen anymore. If you get a defenseman goes on a dive down, maybe blows a tire, loses the race, you're going to wind up with the F3 covering them. And that F3 and your other defenseman, they're going to be the two facing the rush. Your defenseman is going to be coming back in a back-checking mode. And I won't say who the defenseman is, but I remember one very gifted offensive defenseman in his draft year, one of the scouts at the draft table saying, this guy might be the best back-checking defenseman in history. So your defensemen are going to be in a back-checking role as that third player coming back. And the role of that third player, as you just talked about, do you grab the puck carrier if you can, or is your job going to be to look over your shoulders and grab the trailers? And then you have your fourth and fifth players who are going to hit their hot spots before they get into their coverage. That fourth player back through the middle, make sure you get into a high slot position to defend well, hot spot, and then that fifth player back will read off the fourth and get themselves into the strong side. So this rule, to me, is the number one rule of back checking. It's a Craig Ramsey rule, and every time I heard him present on this topic, I know I heard him say this. And I was lucky because my first year as a scout with the Montreal Canadiens, he was an assistant coach, so I got to listen on him further these concepts and try to teach defense. And the one thing I always remember him saying was, if you're back checking, the back check doesn't end until the rush busts, until you get into defensive zone play, offensive zone play by your opponent. But while that rush is going on, the back check continues. And here's one of the ways that I've always taught this to players. And people who own a dog, you're really going to understand this. I've always said, when you come home, if you own a dog and you come home, what's the first thing to do? The dog runs over to you. And then as you walk down the hall and you hang up your jacket, the dog follows you. You walk towards the kitchen, you grab a snack, the dog follows you. You go sit down in the living room on the couch, watch TV or read the paper, the dog follows you. The dog's back checking. That's what I've always told young players. The dog is back checking. That's what you need to be doing. So wherever your check goes, you're going with them. And I've always used it as the rover theology, or the rover theory, rover being a dog's name. So I used to tell my players, think rover, think of you as the dog. You got to follow your owner wherever they go. That to me is one of the staple rules when you're back checking. Take your check all the way. This is a game I did a couple of years back on the CBS Sports Network. It was between Western Michigan and Omaha. I'm going to let myself explain this because I'd just be talking over me. But this to me is really what the good start. of how we're going to get into our discussion of roles in the back check and that hockey by the numbers.
Well, we've been talking about Western Michigan's transition to defense. Young players, watch this. Go. As we roll this thing around, they lose the puck, so the puck starts going up ice. Stop it right here. Everybody's back checking through the middle. Everybody's coming back through the middle, except this player right here. He's going to hound the puck until he realizes he hits the red line point of commitment. He can't do it anymore, and he hands him off. Watch this. So he's tracking. The puck moves. He picks up the trailer. The defense can close up. Look at the numbers back by Western Michigan. 5 of them, all through the middle. The defense can then stand up at the line and go back the other way. When you've got numbers coming back in transition, the defenseman can close the gaps. We call it deflect, delay, and destroy. So the D sees the support coming. They can gap up. That's the deflect. Steer it wide. Okay, so it's a delay. Deflect it wide, destroy the rush, go back the other way. That is textbook transition to defense by Western Michigan. Really good stuff.
Good stuff by you too, partner.
And that was Andy Murray, the head coach of Western Michigan at the time, was coaching that team. That was a really well-oiled machine, both offensively and defensively. You just saw that hockey by the numbers. You saw a little bit of the concept of coming back through the middle and how effective it is and how hard everybody came back. One hand on the stick. It was a full sprint back. I've tried to encourage players, don't back check with 2 hands on your stick so that you're swinging your stick sideways. You want your hands chugging like you're running. Make sure you get back hard, get back fast, and get into a position where you can make a play so that you can get above the puck. This is a game that got played a couple of weeks ago between Minnesota and North Dakota, and there's some real good examples, I think, in here of back checking. We're going to start with backtracking from a high turnover. Minnesota's in dark, North Dakota's in white. And as we get this rolling, we'll see a couple of things here. So Minnesota turns the puck over. So now this first player here has got to make a decision. He knows the defensemen are back, so he can attack the puck. Here comes that second forward, the fourth player in the back check coming. They go in numbers, and North Dakota can't get anywhere. Coming up here, this defenseman's going to get inside the dots real quick. He knows he's got 2 behind him. He's going to pick up the most dangerous one, and here comes the back checker, one hand, and he is chugging hard. He gets to the middle, which creates this stick in the lane, so no passing get cut off. Great angle. This defenseman here has got his check in his back pocket. This player is coming in to even out the numbers. You got a fourth player coming back, 39 there. He picks up the puck and off he goes. Real nice job by Minnesota in their coverage. Look how quickly they transition, how they identify their checks, how they stayed within the middle, how they stayed with their men, and were able to make a play on the puck. Next, we turn to from offensive zone play. Now, this is a longer track back, so it becomes a little bit more defined. Minnesota, once again, in the dark. They're trying to establish an offensive zone play here. I love this play by 39. Here he is again. It's above the puck here. He's already thinking defensive mindset because possession was undetermined. It's a good thing he did, because once the puck gets turned over, I love it. Defenseman inside the dots, that's getting the puck out wide to delay it and deflect it. I'd like to have that guy with one hand on a stick. He wasn't. And maybe this guy turns and surfs earlier, knowing that a chip is coming, but it's a real nice coverage by Minnesota. Here we go again. North Dakota trying to get out. Perfect setup. This player here has got the guy in the corner. This player here has got the guy behind him. And now this player, the F3, can actually make a play on the puck because he knows he's got numbers all over. Everybody's covered. And he can even make a secondary play short of the red line. Minnesota with a great track back gets the puck turned over. They're trying to establish an offense here again. North Dakota blows it up. You'll see an early play once again. That second forward makes a play on the wall. Now this guy here, who we just arrowed, reloads. He gets behind the rush. Instead of over-numbering in the neutral zone, he's able to make a secondary play defensively in his own zone. Just a real nice job by the Golden Gophers on North Dakota there. The University of Vermont, under Todd Woodcroft, an old friend of the coach's site, he's done many great presentations on the site, which I really encourage you to take a look at. He was generous enough to lend me some video of them practicing their back checking. Everybody at the NCAA level is practicing their back checking almost on a daily basis because it is so important to try to get pucks early and shrink the rink and transition offense without having to cover too much ground. So he lent us some video, and we're going to go over a couple of really nice drills here to work with your team on. And we'll start with this one. This is one that, to me, really shows that component of skating with one hand on your stick. Watch the trailers in all of them. What are they doing? They're getting towards the middle of the ice, and they're skating with one hand on their stick in a full sprint. It's that same dog versus the owner thing, or dog chasing the owner. Go get him. Stay with him. Go get him. Stay with him. And I love the way they're skating hard, and the mentality that they're working on is one-handed speed, get in the play, get on your check. And that brings us into some of the fundamentals of the back checking, which we can take a look at right here. All the little things that we've just talked about a moment ago. As we move it forward, this is a full ice drill, and I want to bring something up here because there's a couple of components to it. It starts with 3-on-5, and here's the first player that's coming in. The dark team is going to come out 5 men against the 2 defensemen that are here. You'll notice that Coach Woodcroft has got 2 yellow forwards here, 1 yellow forward here. I've also done this drill where I've just left this player in and had these 2 be ready to activate. It's up to you. There's a couple of different ways you can do it, and I just wanted to show you both. So now the play is going to come back up the ice. They're going to break out a 5-on-3 and threaten the net, which in a 5-on-3, you'd better be able to threaten the net. They're going to come up ice, and what coach does is then he spots a puck to the new line, and you'll see this new line take off and go up the ice. And look at the back check through the middle with one hand on the stick before they get into defensive zone play. So the yellow team now attacking. Now the dark team's got to try to cause a turnover. Here comes the yellow team tracking back hard. Love this. Defenseman out there, good stick inside. This defenseman inside is checked, stick down. Great middle lane drive presence by these 2 players coming back, looking for trailers, taking away hot spots, sorting out, and preventing the dark team from getting a dangerous scoring opportunity.
All right, so now that we've seen a couple of concepts of back checking on video, let's get to a couple of drills, and I'm going to go through the Todd Woodcroft one, which you saw a second ago from the University of Vermont. But the first one I want to show you is one I stole from Sean Walsh, the legendary college coach from the University of Maine, and it's a 2-on-1 continuous with a back check built into it. It's a great conditioning drill for starters, but it's also really good at emphasizing a lot of the technique that we talked about, especially the one-hand skate chasing back, the sort outs, communication between a defenseman and a forward. It encompasses a little bit of what you saw in the first drill at the University of Vermont with a little bit of a kicker towards the end because of the way that the back check is set up, and there's some thinking involved in it too, which I always like. So we're going to start with forwards and 4 corners here. Coaches, stay out of the way, get down over here, and we'll put the defenseman up here in the middle. What we're going to do is we're going to start with 2 players coming out of one side to start with. The player coming out of here at the same time is going to come out of here as the back checker, and the defenseman is going to swing out and face the rush coming 2-on-1 the other way. So this defenseman will be coming back. These players will be coming up ice, and this back checker will be getting in. And this is where you can practice that point of commitment component. How close does he get to the puck carrier? Can he make a play on the offensive side of the red line? Does he hand off to the D? But you want the defenseman and your back checker communicating verbal, nonverbal on who has who. So this play is going to go all the way down to the net. If you're the offensive-minded coach, you hope. If you're the defensive-minded coach and this breaks up early, terrific. But once you get down here, you're going to get that original play to the net. The back checker is going to disengage from the rush. And what they're going to do is they're going to go one way or the other. Whichever way they go, it doesn't matter. But the first player on the line can't be standing there talking to his buddy. He's got to be ready. Or she's got to be ready. Ready position, puck on stick, ready to go. Because whichever way the back checker goes, number 1 over here is going to hit them with a pass, take off, and these 2 are now going to go 2-on-1 the other way. And the line that didn't make the pass, they become the back checker against the next defenseman coming in on line. And you'll play it 2-on-1 with the back checker going the opposite way. It's a continuous loop, so it's a great conditioning drill. It's really good for that one-hand skating, get hard through the neutral zone. It's great for the defenseman facing that 2-on-1 to sort out with the back checker coming back, and it's just a good, real continuous loop. Now we move on to the second drill. You saw a little bit of it in the University of Vermont clips that we just showed you a second ago. 2 different options on this drill, and I'll show you both. This is more of a full 5-on-5, and why do we like 5-on-5? Spatial awareness. Any drill that you can end where you end up with a 5-on-5 scenario in a real scrimmage situation, I think it's really good for your players, because sometimes we go overboard on 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, whatever we're doing, and we don't build in the 5-on-5 full ice component to a lot of our drills. And because of that, players lose that spatial awareness. They lose that concept of how much time they actually have, how much space they actually have, how much bigger some of the players are that they're playing against as they go along through it, and longer sticks and different angles. So if you can get to 5-on-5, I think that's a really good thing. And this drill does that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the coach right here with pucks. Coach is going to throw a puck in, and this team is going to come back and get it.
Wingers come down, maybe the center curls, winger comes down. However you want them to break out, you define it. And this team right here, the ones, they're going to forecheck in. These will come up. These will come up. All right, so they got a big mess, but you understand what's going on here. So the 5-man unit is now going to break back out, going the other way. As they're doing that, and once they get up ice, they'll get to about right here, just inside the line. Once they get just inside the line, the coach makes a decision. Do they want them to play it out or not? And more than likely, I say no. The coach right here will spot a new puck to these two guys right here. And those two guys will now lead a rush going the other way, and everybody, once they've crossed the blue line here, has got to back check back and sort out. Now, you got a couple different things you can do. The forward that was here, in the video, you saw that forward go in, forecheck, and go and change, and this forward over here took his spot, or her spot, to go up ice 5-on-5. You could also leave this forward out here and just keep these two, and have this one back check all the way, and then join the rush later on. That's your call as the coach.
So that is really a little bit of an introduction into backchecking, an introduction to the transition to defense. And again, there are just some rules to remember. Backchecking through the middle is important. Get your players to skate with one hand on their stick. When they skate with one hand, they're a lot faster than when they come back with two hands. Communication, verbal, nonverbal, know your cues. And I'll give you the buzzwords again that I really, really like. Deflect, delay, destroy. The other one is close, kill, and collect. That one I got from Dave Shayak at St. Cloud State University. That's kind of what he likes to use. But they're both basically the same thing, and that is try to get the attack to slow down. The harder you back check, the better. And if your defensemen know that you're coming back, they can take an inside lane, they can be inside the dots, they can deflect your attack wide, which is going to delay it. That allows the cavalry to come back and destroy it. So thanks very much for joining us here on episode number 2 of The Breakdown with Dave Starman. I wish you all the luck in the world as your season continues, and hopefully you're able to grab a couple things out of this that you can bring back to your team. Stay safe and happy hockey, everyone.